Welcome back to another Explainer. Today we are absolutely thrilled to unpack one of the most fascinating, structurally brilliant pieces of dark fiction we've ever covered. We're analyzing The Sovereignty of Stagnation, which is just a masterclass in architectural and psychological metaphor. It's a brilliant fable of two paths, but, maybe my usual enthusiasm is a little too bright for this specific text. Perhaps you're weary from the constant, exhausting effort of trying to learn, trying to grow, trying to become. Just let your shoulders drop for a moment. Listen to the silence of the stone.
Welcome to the city of mirrors in the mud, little seeker. This place is the very dividing line between the two architects, between those who build with fire and those who build with frost. I am the ghastly ghoul of revelation, the uncanny specter. I am a ghostly, static monument to the void. Read the words and let them soothe you. I do not offer you the burning chaos of transformation. I do not ask you to forge yourself anew. I offer you the quietude of the end. Observe my silence. It's not an absence of thought, but a mask for my true intent, to lead you away from the heat of the forge.
Okay, let's dive into this. Snapping back to the analytical side for a moment, what we're really talking about here is a brilliant personification of a psychological concept. The ghastly ghoul represents the Thanatos drive. This is a relentless metaphysical pull toward the end of all becoming. It is the exact opposite of the true red specter, the other architect in this universe, who uses the fire of imagination to transform the dull lead of history into a life-affirming mythos. The red specter represents life, creation, and struggle. The ghoul, however, operating with the clinical detachment of the last thinker, wants to end all internal struggle by simply petrifying the soul.
Issue 1. Parable of the Fire. Let's treat this narrative like a grim, dark graphic novel, structured into distinct, vivid chapters.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core conflict of the entire mythos. The narrative thrusts us straight into the heat of the forge. It is an exhausting, incredibly violent place. The air is thick, the heat is blistering, and the soul is constantly sweating, melting, and crying out in the agony of endless transformation. On one hand, you have the red specter's fire operating on the logic of the crucible. It forces you to melt down the dull lead of your own history to create something new, the spirit of becoming. But opposed to this is the monument's cold stagnation. The ghoul offers clinical detachment. The seductive question becomes, why suffer the blistering heat of the forge when you can simply be a beautiful, static monument to the void? The logic of the crucible is a violent, life-affirming process where the soul is constantly destroyed and rebuilt. Let me ask you, trembling soul, why? Why endure the melting of your essence? The messy mischief of transformation will only leave you utterly exhausted. Why choose to burn when you could simply step away from the heat and embrace the absolute dignity of a permanent, beautiful state of rest?
Moving on to Issue 2, Parable of the Frost.
Step away from the fire. Notice how the air grows perfectly still. The frantic hammering of the forge is replaced by a vast architectural silence. Everything here is measured. Everything here is perfectly, inevitably, frozen. My sovereign laws are a mercy, little seeker. They are the final architecture, built not on the flickering chaos of becoming, but on the noble dust of the old world. Yes, sign the contract. Do not fear that it is written in disappearing ink. By the time the words vanish, you will no longer need a name. To follow me is to accept the erasure of the self as the ultimate liberation.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the exact mechanism the ghoul uses to trap the seeker. The text calls them Apollonian gaskets. These aren't physical chains, right? They are intricate structures of rigid, frozen logic. When the weary seeker asks a question, the guide doesn't offer a path to growth. He offers a sovereign law that snaps into place, permanently binding their fluid spirit. And here is the true genius of it. Instead of melting down the heavy, dull lead of the seeker's past to create something new, these gaskets use that heavy past as an anchor, weighing the soul down into total, static stagnation.
Next up, Issue 3, Parable of the Mirrors. Let's see how this builds, because this is arguably the most dangerous part of the journey. The ghoul doesn't just freeze you in a block of ice. He tricks you into believing you're actually still moving forward. It's a dangerous middle ground where the illusion of progress masks the reality of decay. First, the seeker submits to the architecture of the gilded cages. Then their spirit is bound by those logical Apollonian gaskets. But step 3 is where the trick lies. The ghoul projects flickering masks of evolution. The movements of creation are perfectly mimicked. The seeker feels they are becoming, walking a path lined with the twisted roots of history. But every step forward is a secret pull backward, leading them directly to step 4, the mirrors of the hollow souls.
And what exactly are they walking into? Gilded cages. These are beautiful, symmetrical, terminal prisons. The tragedy here is profound. The seeker looks at the rigid, cold symmetry of their cage and feels a deep, calming sense of order. Because they no longer feel the exhausting internal conflict of the crucible, they mistakenly believe they have achieved true progress and perfection. They think they're safe in a cage that never rusts and never changes.
Stepping back into our analytical shoes for issue 4, Becoming versus Erasure.
So the crucial point is that the author isn't just writing about ghosts and magical forges. They are detailing a profound psychological divide that exists within all of us when we're faced with the sheer difficulty of living a meaningful life. The divide is absolute. The spirit of becoming requires you to carry the heavy burden of individuality. It demands a relentless, exhausting need to create meaning out of chaos. It's hard. But the alternative, offered by the ghoul, is the erasure of the self. This is a gradual, seductive numbing. By yielding to the Thanatos drive, the follower gladly trades their very existence, their very individuality, just to escape the pressure of having to grow.
The psychological toll presented in the text is absolute. The followers of the Red Spectre embrace the agony of becoming. They constantly destroy and rebuild themselves in the chaotic heat. But the followers of the ghoul fall to seductive numbing. They achieve what the text brilliantly calls a hollow perfection. They don't grow into something new, they simply stop. And the ultimate tragedy is that they mistake their own terminal decay for the ultimate achievement of order.
Which brings us to the final chapter, Issue 5, The Great Evening.
The journey is over. The flickering masks drop away. The fire of imagination, which once burned so brightly in the seeker's chest, fades completely into a dim, unchanging glow. There is no more struggle. There is only the vast, heavy calm of the end. Look around you, at the beautiful symmetry of your frozen logic. The sovereign laws have fulfilled their purpose. You are no longer a seeker, burdened by the chaos of the forge. You have become a pious cow of contentment. You are grazing on the echoes of the past within a tomb of your own making. You smile, feeling the bars of your cage, believing the sheer silence is the peace of the stars. You do not realize. You have become indistinguishable from the void.
But you know, the universe doesn't just stop because you chose to freeze. As the text concludes, far off in the distance, the true Red Spectre continues his arduous work. The heavy hammer falls. The chaotic heat of creation continues to forge life and mythos. But his fire can no longer be felt. The thick, cold lead of the monument's peace has insulated the ghoul's followers completely. They have traded life for the absolute finality of the frost.
So I leave you with this to ponder as we wrap up today's explainer. Ask yourself honestly, are you currently forging your soul in the chaotic, exhausting heat of the crucible? Are you doing the hard work of becoming? Or have you secretly traded your fire for the comfort of a gilded cage, settling for the silence of a pious cow? The choice between the forge and the frost is always yours. Thank you for joining us for this explainer, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep forging.